Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Hannah. Today we're going to be talking about a pretty serious topic. If you haven't already guessed it by the title of this video, we are going to be talking about my miscarriage. I know this video is going to be triggering to some, and it may be emotional, and it might put you in not a very good place. So I do want to warn you that we are going to be talking about a very deep subject that a lot of people can't talk about. So if you are going to be triggered by pregnancy loss, blood, things, gory things of that such, I'm not going to be showing any pictures, but I will be talking about my experience. So if that triggers you, go ahead and click off of this video. I have other videos on my channel that you may be interested in. I wanted to share my story because I know that I am not the only one going through this, and if I can help somebody that is going through a similar situation or the same situation that I'm going through, or are having any fears about that, I hope that I can just educate you a little bit more, at least from what I experienced, and just kind of make this less of a taboo thing that we don't want to discuss or anything of that sort. I believe that because I have a lot of knowledge or experience with other women having miscarriages and hearing other people's stories, I believe that has helped me a lot deal with what I am going through. And I know not everybody's going to be able to keep their composure like I may appear to be having. But just know that this is not an easy subject for me. It's not an easy topic for me to bring up or talk about. But like I said, it could be beneficial to somebody else going through this similar situation that I am, and so I want to be there for you. I'm not going to be going crazy details or educational on y'all, but I am going to share my experience, so I hope you guys will stick around and hear me out. So if you watched my my pregnancy video, my last pregnancy video that I had posted, I went into detail about my cycle and how wonky it was. And so from the beginning, I already knew that my real due date was going to be at least 2 weeks, not ahead, but behind on what I should be according to my last menstrual period. So because we already have a general understanding of that, I'm not going to go into detail on that. I'm just going to start the story from where I started noticing symptoms of my miscarriage. And that just so happened to be Sunday, our last full day in Hawaii. Anthony and I, we had, intercourse. And after that, we had went to the beach, and I had noticed that I was spotting when I went to the restroom. It was just a quick wipe, see a little bit of pink, wipe again, and it's gone. There's no cramping or anything, so I'm not instantly freaking out thinking that I'm having a miscarriage, because I know spotting in early pregnancy is very normal and should not be of concern until there's cramping and there is more blood. So it's gone. I didn't notice any spotting for the rest of the day. I noticed the spotting around midday, so like 12-ish. And yeah, so there just wasn't any other spotting for the rest of the day. On Monday, we get on our flight at 7 a.m. and we get to California at 3:30-ish, and we decide we're hungry, so we're gonna go to Red Robin. And we get there, and I use the restroom, and I notice that the spotting had started again. But this time, when I wiped, it didn't go away. Like, it just continued to be pink. And throughout the day, the spotting never stopped. In fact, it actually started getting a little bit brighter, and then it got a little bit more red. And I wasn't concerned yet, only because there was no cramping involved. I knew when I got home, I was going to need to monitor this. So when I got home, I did put on a pad so that way if it got any worse, it wasn't going to get on my clothes and I could monitor it via the pad. So I get home and I put the pad on and I lay down on my bed and I take a 3-hour nap. And it was a nice nap. It was very relaxing. Anthony woke me up at 9. We sat down on the couch for a little bit, watched a little bit of TV, and then we went back to bed. I did go to the bathroom and I noticed I was still bleeding at that time. So I decided to just go to bed and call it a night. And then in the morning we will assess everything from there because I still wasn't cramping. So I was assuming that the bleeding would stop soon because I wasn't cramping. There should be no reason why I'm bleeding. And we hadn't had intercourse again since Sunday before I had started spotting. So when I woke up on Tuesday, I went to the bathroom, I wiped myself, and there was actually nothing there. And so I felt very promising, emotions. And I go to the couch, and I'm doing my normal morning routine here at the house, and I go to the bathroom again, and then I notice that the spotting's back, but this time it's a little bit more red than it was the day before. And so I start worrying a little bit. There's still no cramping, so I'm not super stressed at this point, but I do know that I need to go to the emergency room to go get checked out. So I have Anthony take me over to our emergency room, and there they give me a whole bunch of tests. They take my blood test, urine test, and they do the ultrasound there. And I was waiting there for quite a while. I was there from about 10:30 a.m. Till about 4:30, 5 o'clock at night, and they did not have a room available to me until maybe 30 minutes before I actually left. So they kept pulling me from the waiting room, doing tests on me and sending me back out to the waiting room. And eventually, I want to say around 3:30, Anthony was able to make it to the hospital. He had to wait for his grandpa to get off of work so that way he could watch Alicia for him, so that way he can meet me and be there with me for the ultrasound. So he gets there around 4 o'clock, we get our ultrasound, and then I want to say 30 minutes later, they pull us back and they actually put us into a room at this point. During the ultrasound, the technician was very nice. She was funny. She was, making us laugh a little bit, trying to ease our concerns. The nurse had told us that my HCG levels were all normal for what they should be. There's no sign of infection in my body, so everything's looking good. We're just going to get an ultrasound, and then we'll figure out what's going on from there. So the tech does her thing, and I don't want to look at the monitor because I don't want to see anything wrong. And I'm hoping in my head, I'm like praying Anthony looks up and looks at this monitor so he can tell me everything's going to be fine, because I know the technician will not be able to give me any information. I would have to wait for the doctor. And I just wanted any hope from anybody, in the room sitting next to me watching this ultrasound to just give a little brightness in their eye or something that I can be okay with. But my husband, he is just so sweet. He felt that if I wasn't going to look at it, then he shouldn't look at it. But I was sitting there so mad, why aren't you looking? Why aren't you looking? Why aren't you looking? But of course, I'm sitting there quietly and I'm not even telling him anything. I'm not nudging him or anything. I'm just looking at him, waiting for him to say something or look at me or look at the monitor, nothing. So the technician's done. They sent us back out to the waiting room, and then like I said, 30 minutes later, they got us into an actual room, and the doctor pretty much asked me, so what's going on? Explain to me, what your situation is. So I went into detail about my cycle, and I told her I expected to be 2 weeks off. And she pretty much told me that I had a blighted ovum, which is just a sac with no baby in it, no DNA content in it. And she said that everything looked like it had stopped growing at 5 weeks and 6 days. When she told me this, I kind of rejected all the information she just gave me and told me. And I did this because I knew that I was going to be at about 2 weeks off from the 10-week mark was where I should have been. So I thought I was going to be at least 8 weeks. But when I go back and look at my cycle, the last time that I had intercourse with my husband before we got pregnant was Father's Day, June 16th. And up until that point, I hadn't gotten a positive ovulation test. So I didn't know when I had ovulated. I just assumed that I wasn't going to ovulate that month. And then I didn't get a positive until 5 days after I missed my period. So I knew I must have implanted around the 20th. And when you put June 20th into the due date calculator on Google, it gives you an estimate of 5 weeks and 6 days on the day that they told me that. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I could still be pregnant. You guys are crazy. I think this is just normal spotting because I don't have any cramps. There's no other indication that I should be miscarrying. Like, everything is looking normal so far. You just told me all my pregnancy HCG levels were normal. I wasn't anemic. I didn't have any infection. So you're telling me everything's looking normal. There's just nothing in the sac. And you're saying it stopped growing on the day that I should be that gestational age. I pretty much rejected that information, and I held a little bit of hope, and I did cry a little bit after she had walked out. I kept telling Anthony, I know I'm okay. I'm just praying that it's different. It's a different outcome than what she's saying. So we go home, and I noticed that I am starting to cramp a little bit, and I figured that's because when the lady was doing the ultrasound, they didn't just do the abdominal ultrasound, but they also did the transvaginal ultrasound. And that gives women cramps afterwards, mild cramps, not crazy cramps. And that's what I was having, mild cramps. I didn't think anything more than that. It's got to be the one. That's all that it is. We're still good. We could still be in the clear. And that night, we ended up going to my family's house. We set up an arrangement to go to the beach the following day because my daughter had been begging to go to the beach because she didn't go to Hawaii with us, and we told her we would. And my dad, he loves the beach, and so we also brought my nephew as well. So Wednesday rolls around. I wake up and I'm still bleeding, but no cramping. All the mild cramping that I had the night before was gone. Didn't even need to take Tylenol, and I went about my day as normal. Got up, did my makeup. We went over to my dad's house, picked up my dad and my nephew, and then we went to the beach. There at the beach, we had a really good time. I was very relaxed. I wasn't cramping up until, I want to say, about halfway through. We were building sandcastles with Alicia, and I got tired, so I told Anthony, I'm going to go lay up on the towels, keep an eye out for her, and that's what he did. I fell asleep, and I felt so nice and warm, and then I started feeling cramping, but this cramping was period cramping. Like, this was like I was already on my period. I'm just waiting for like a river of blood or something. So at this point, I take Tylenol, and then Anthony comes up and he tells me everybody's ready to go. So we pack up, we get in the car, and then we go back to my dad's house, and there my mom's cooking dinner, and I'm like, oh my God, this food smells so good, which is different than what I had been feeling my entire pregnancy. I didn't really have much of an appetite at all. I really had to force myself to get anything down. I would get maybe 1 or 2 full meals in a day because I just had to force myself to eat. And so the fact that food was smelling really good didn't really trigger me anything, but I think that was something telling me, like, this is it. So while my mother was cooking the dinner, I sat down on the couch and I just kind of dozed off a little bit, and I'm like holding my stomach because I'm in bad pain at this point, and I know what's about to happen. And I tell Anthony, I go, I'm pretty sure this is what it is. Like, no way should I be having this bad pain and bleeding without knowing what's going to happen. So he asked me if I want to go home. I said yes, and then my mom was like, oh, well, dinner's pretty much done. Let me go ahead and make you guys plates. She made us plates, and we got in the car and we left. On the way to the car, I felt constricting cramps, obviously in my abdomen, and they reminded me of contractions. And so they would tighten up, and then like it would last for a good while, and then I would physically feel the release, like whew, and I could breathe again. And I was like, okay, I'm very positive at this point that I know what it is. And I told Anthony, I was like, I think I just passed something large, because that was the most intense pain I felt this entire time. And so we get home, I go to the bathroom, and there's more blood, but there's nothing really there besides blood. There was a little bit of blood clot on my pad, but that was pretty much it. I ended up coming back into the living room, sitting down. We watched a little bit more TV, and there I continued to moan and groan, and the cramps got way more severe. And then at one point, like, I just like, I need to go pee again. I'm gonna go pee. So I get up and I go to the bathroom, and I go pee, and I wet myself. There's still blood, but something tells me to just push a little bit. And so I do. I bear down a little bit, and I could feel something coming out of me. So I push again, and a little bit more of it comes out, but it's still just hanging out. It hasn't fully, left me. So I push 2 more times, and then I hear plop. Whatever it was had fallen directly into the toilet, and when I had looked down, the toilet was filled with blood. And so I called for Anthony. I asked him to give me my phone. He wasn't hearing me because the TV was too loud. So I wiped myself, and I put my pants back up, and I walk out to the living room. I grab my phone. So I went back into the bathroom, and at this point, all the blood had settled away, and I can clearly see through the toilet bowl. And there was a large clot sitting at the bottom of my toilet. It was the size of my hand, my whole hand, not just my palm, but my whole hand. And I took a picture of it, and don't worry, I'm not going to show it here, but I took a picture of it and I flushed it. For me, I didn't need the closure of feeling it and looking at it inside of it or anything. Like, I didn't need that to feel completed. I couldn't do it. Everyone that I showed the picture to asked me if I did, but I just couldn't. But yeah, so I took that picture, then I came out and I told Anthony what had happened, showed him the picture, and he was, distraught. We both knew what it was, and we knew that I had miscarried. And so we took a little bit of time to grieve and process it, but ultimately we're at peace with it now. I still have my moments where I cry randomly throughout the day, but it's not weighing on my mind 24/7 like I thought it would be, but it very much does still get to me. My brain likes to process things slightly different than most people do. I mean, as you can tell, I'm talking about this as a very matter-of-fact situation, like it's something that didn't happen to me. And I know that's going to trigger some people, but that's just the way that my brain handles situations like this. I don't believe in acting off of emotions first and foremost. My brain just kind of wants to process everything first before I act out emotionally. And I'm blessed to have that type of mentality. I feel like that's really saved me from a lot of life-damaging situations. So I'm glad that I deal with things like that. But I do want this to just be an educational video because, like I said, I'm not the only one that has gone through this, and I'm not going to be the last. And you going through it, you need to know that you're not alone. And I have a lot of people around me that support me, and I know there are women out here that don't have that support, and I can't imagine or even fathom what you are feeling emotionally, physically, mentally. Just know that you're not alone. I love you. We have a whole team here on YouTube. We have family here on YouTube that have also gone through the same thing. All that you need is just a search button, you know. Search up what you're going through and you will find tons of people that are going through this with you. So just know that you're not alone. And again, we all love you. So I believe this is going to conclude our video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave them down below in the comment section and I will get back to you as soon as I can, or make a follow-up video if you guys would like. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And don't forget that bell notification on the side of it as well, so you can be notified every time I post a video. Again, I don't always post very sensitive content like this, but we are on our journey to conceive baby number 2, and this is not the end of our journey. And I'm hoping this will be our last miscarriage, but we will be trying for our rainbow baby. And I can't promise you it's all going to be rainbow and sunshines after this. So I hope you guys would stick around and, you know, just hang out with me and my family and come on this journey with us, because as you can tell, it's already an emotional roller coaster and I'm going to need a lot of help. I love you guys, and again, I will see you in my next video.